Hey, what's up, everyone? You're currently tuned into TBD on KCSB FM 91.9 in Santa Barbara and netnetradio.com out of Tijuana. Today, Lai Talk and I are joined by multi-talented musician, hip-hop enthusiast, and adamant biker Dash Lewis. He's recorded several albums under his name and the Gardner moniker and contributed interviews and reviews to various websites from Post Trash to Passion of the Weiss. How's it going, Dash?
I'm doing all right. Thanks for your interest. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for being down to be on the show and taking some time out of your evening. What is it, like 9 p.m. there?
Yeah, thereabouts.
Yeah, not too late, but you're saying it's a warm, humid evening over there in the South?
It's a warm, humid evening. It's been a string of warm, humid evenings, and we're going to have a string of warm, humid evenings after this.
Oh, heck yeah, dude.
I love it.
Dash, so how has your month of July been? And what do you have coming up for August and stuff? Just give us a brief rundown of like how you've been doing.
Any capacity.
July, let's see. July was kind of tough, just in terms of like work stuff.
Yeah.
In my day job just got like very stressful for pretty much everyone involved.
What do you do for your day job?
I'm a content writer for a digital marketing company.
That's sick.
I feel.
Yeah, that's sick.
So yeah, it just got like very, very busy, and we were all just feeling a bit thin.
Mm-hmm.
But I also went up in early July. I went up to Philly for a few days, and I recorded, me and Jeff Ziegler put out a record in 2020. We worked on for a number of years, and we are really close to finishing our second record. So I was up there for a few days, and we were doing some overdubs and some new stuff, and just sort of like mapping out where we're at and where we're going with that. So I think we need maybe one or two more sessions, and that'll be good. And then for August, I'm actually leaving we're recording this on a Monday evening, and I'm leaving on Wednesday to go to Asheville, North Carolina.
Oh, sick. What do you got going on over there?
But I lived there for a little while, and I still have I still have a lot of friends there, but I have a music project there called Distancer. This with my friend Harvey. Used to play in a band called Nest Egg, and he played in a band called Soft Opening.
Nice.
Really amazing musician, good friend of mine. And so we are also going to be trying to finish our second record. But I also will be doing some solo stuff there. I'll be there for about a week. And for the first half of it, I'll be recording at my friend Dave's studio, just working on a new Gardner record.
Nice.
And then the second half of it will be doing the Distancer, finishing up the Distancer stuff. So I got a lot of working on a lot of music right now.
That's cool.
Big music era right now, I feel.
Yeah, I'm doing my best to keep it going.
Yeah.
I kind of, I put out a record last year, and then I started this full-time job, and I just haven't really done a lot on my own. Since then, and since like 2020, I haven't played any shows really. I played like one show in March 7th of 2020.
Oh, wow.
Streaming shows, and I played another show an in-person show in November 2021, and that's it. And that's like super rare for me. So I just like, I don't know, I kind of hit this weird wall where I life changed so deeply. And so I'm really happy to be just like getting back into it in a pretty busy way.
Yeah, that's awesome that you're becoming more productive. What were you saying, Maddie?
It's funny you mentioned that. I'd found it was on archive.org. I don't know if you knew, but somebody published one of your March 2015 shows, and it's just on archive.org.
Whoa!
I'll drop a link. I was listening to it. It's really, really good. It was great. It was a great counter to the run of tapes that you had recently done and had sent to me. It was really, I was shocked. And I don't know though, just had you been going out though in Richmond DIY stuff? Were you seeing any of kind of the shows going on there?
In the past couple of years, or since I've moved here?
In the past couple of years, let's say.
Honestly, no, not really. The past couple of years, No, I mean, the unfortunate thing about my time in Richmond is that like most of the people that I have gotten close, I've been here for about 6.5 years. Most of the people that I've gotten close to have moved away. I still maintain some very solid friendships, but like between that and then the sort of, lockdown-ish thing that we did in 2020, now it's kind of like I've moved here all over again, and I'm just trying to figure out what is going on, because I like a bunch of people left town in the past couple of years, and like a bunch of spaces got shut down or just like kind of fizzled out. And I know that there was like there's this one person, I'm going to blank on their name, but I know they play in a band called Spooky Cool that has been doing a ton of stuff. And I've either been retired or just like I'm out of the habit kind of. I've only gone to a handful of shows in the past couple of years, and they've almost all been out of town. So I feel like a bit of a stranger in my own town right now, which is strange.
So where did you grow up again once more?
I grew up in Durham, North Carolina.
Okay. Was there an active like DIY scene over there? Like how'd you like start getting into music and stuff?
Oh, deeply. Yeah. So Durham is part of the Triangle, which is Durham, Chapel Hill, and Raleigh. And, Chapel Hill's where UNC is, Durham is where Duke is. And so there's always been, it's always just been a major, and Raleigh is the capital. There's NC State, and people in Raleigh would be bummed if they heard me kind of forget about Raleigh. Yeah. But, it's always been a big touring market. So like pretty much anything I ever wanted to see came through, but there was also a very healthy, it's a huge, there's more than just those three colleges. There's a ton of schools around. So there's a lot of folks who come there for school and, start bands or start projects and just like stick around for a really long time. My brother is 9 years older than me, and he was always in bands and stuff. And he ended up working for many, many years at a venue called the Cat's Cradle, which is a pretty famous venue in Carborough.
I feel like I've heard of it before. Yeah. Yeah,
it's been around forever. I grew up kind of going to that place, but there was like this one, the place where I played my first show ever at the time was called the Skylight, and then at night it would be called the Nightlight.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah, it just takes a moment. That's good.
Yeah, it was wonderful. The Skylight was amazing. It was like a sandwich shop that also was a bookstore, and like built-in, or they weren't built-in shelves, but like every single, it was this weird kind of bunker-like space. You had to go down an alley to find it. It had one of those addresses that was like 504 and a half. You walked in, and every single wall was all, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves. And then there was a little bar where you'd order your sandwiches, some booths, and they sold records and like VHS tapes and all kinds of stuff. And at night it became a venue. They had a little like stage. And eventually there's all kinds of rumors about the man who owned Skylight, but the pervasive one is that he fled the country because he had to outrun his debts, basically. And so it became just permanently the Nightlight. Some people bought it, and then it's changed hands a number of times. It's unfortunately maybe going through a rough spot now, but it's been the Nightlight for, I think, over 20 years. And it's been just a hub of amazing, like pretty much any kind of genre, but like it's always been this like very reliable, beautiful little DIY space.
That's really cool.
And there's been a number of other ones over the years, especially in Durham. There was this guy, Craig, who was just doing shows out of his house called The Layabout for a while. And he was getting like huge touring acts to just come play his living room.
Wow.
That's sick.
Yeah, that's Craig.
That's really sick.
There was someone else in Carborough for a while that was doing a house called Meadows of Dan that was also getting like crazy touring acts. So it was like, and then we had the Cat's Cradle. And then when I was in high school, we had a place called Go Room 4, which was a legendary tiny little venue. Another spot called the Local 506. In Durham, we had the Duke Coffee House, which was Duke's like student run venue. And they would, because they have so much money, like it's a 200 cap room, and you could see just like insane shows. I actually was there in April to see this festival they put on that was like a number of people had to cancel. So I ended up seeing Finez, Kamaru, and then Arm & Hammer all in the same bill.
Wow, what the hell?
Wait, what? Finesse shared a bill with Arm & Hammer.
Yeah, it was insane. And Glenn Jones played in the afternoon set. It was an amazing little thing. And like, they didn't really advertise it. It was just for the students. My friend who lives like really close by was like, I think you should come down for this. It was like $20. But that's like very much their thing. That's what they always did. So I grew up going to shows like that all the time. I was very spoiled by growing up there and just being all the time.
That's insane, dude. That is so sick. So I guess like when did you start like playing music? Like when did you start getting into playing music? So you're like going to all these shows, like, you know, at like the various venues at the universities and stuff, and like people's house venues and everything. When did you start playing music? And like, what were you primarily interested in when you like started? You know what I mean? Like when you started getting involved in the scene.
Well, so the first 2 tapes that I ever owned were Frank Sinatra's Gold, which my grandma gave me when I was like 6.
Yeah.
And De La Soul Is Dead, which my brother gave me when I was like 8.
Oh my goodness. What a starting point.
Yeah. And De La Soul Is Dead blew my mind. And I wanted to be a rapper. And so I wrote my first rap when I was 8 years old.
That's so sick. Yeah.
And then I continued, and I pursued that I pursued hip hop until I was about 24 years old. So I was like, I was writing, recording, playing tons and tons of shows, collaborating with a lot of people, and like when I grew up, or when I was in high school, rather, in Durham, that was the era of, I don't know if y'all are familiar with Little Brother or the Justice League, but it's this guy Fonte and rapper Big Pooh and Ninth Wonder. They started Little Brother. They were part of a bigger collective called the Justice League, and they were just like, that was when they were active and kind of blowing up. And so I sort of like watched that whole thing happen and collaborated with some of them and played shows with some of them. But I also was like, I grew up going to Duke Chapel, which is this giant chapel on Duke campus. And was really enthralled by the choir. I mean, it was like, it's a cathedral. It's a beautiful, like, Gothic cathedral. And so the choir, it's just got this amazing natural reverb, a big stone church. And it was just like, I didn't have the words for it as a kid, but it was like very, very psychedelic, just hearing singing and harmonies in that kind of space. And I got really involved in really interested in production and making beats and stuff and sampling in high school. And so I did that for a really long time. I played in a cover band. It was like a 13-piece cover band with a horn section.
That's sick.
For a while.
What were you guys covering mainly?
Like a bunch of old soul songs and like just sort of like, we started trying to write our own songs. It was mostly just like a party band.
Oh, nice.
We didn't really have any aspirations of doing anything other than just like hanging out and playing these songs that we liked.
Yeah. What'd you play in that band, by the way?
I sang and played tambourine.
Oh, nice. That's sick.
And let's see. Yeah, I mean, that was mostly what I did. I moved to Asheville when I was 24, and I had started this project called Curtains in Chapel Hill. I was living in Chapel Hill at the time. I started this project called Curtains when I was in that band because I started wanting to write. Like, I really enjoyed singing. I hadn't really sung in my life before. And I wanted to write songs like that were, I wanted to write lyrics, but I wanted to sing, and I wanted to combine this like love of sampling and pop production. And I started this project called Curtains. That was definitely in that mode. It was a lot of samples and sort of like trying to figure out how to play synthesizers on Fruity Loops, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's a really long answer that I gave to you. I'm sorry.
No, that's the answer we need. That's what we do it for.
Yeah, and so the name that I was going under as when I was rapping was Crash, and I kind of retired that, started focusing on Curtains, and wrote and put out a number of albums under that name, just sort of like a couple tapes here and there. And started, I can't remember if I did play live a couple times in Chapel Hill, but mostly that project kind of existed. It ran its course during my time in Asheville. And when I would play live, I didn't really, I didn't really know how to play these songs. I didn't have a sampler. I was mostly doing everything on the computer. And so I just started using loop pedals and like doing versions of these songs with only loops of my voice.
Okay.
So that I would take samples and like create these like kind of intricate pop songs, and then I would reinterpret them live using only my voice and loops and use different pedals to create different textures and stuff.
That's sick.
And that's sort of how Gardner kind of spawned out of that, just like a love of looping and like it originally was just like kind of confusing myself on the timeline here. Because Gardner's been around for like 11 years. That's what I've been doing for the most part.
Oh, wow.
The first immediate tape, I think it's a 2013 release. And then there's another one not too far after on the Foxy Digitalis label.
Right. Yeah. The first one I think was Wash. And that was this Asheville. Yeah. That was the first one. That was this Asheville label, Headway. This guy, Chris Ballard, started this label, and it was putting out mostly Asheville artist stuff. He ran a really cool series in this coffee shop called Izzy's in downtown Asheville, where he would just bring like experimental artists. Like I remember seeing High Wolf. Do y'all remember High Wolf?
No.
Not a chance with High Wolf.
He was like I don't know if he's active still, but in like 2010 through 13 or so, he was a French man who like was doing this like very loopy kind of psychedelia that was very, of the tape scene at the time. It was like a lot of samplers and kind of like looping, fuzzed out guitar solos, and it became this really hypnotic thing. But he brought like Ballard would bring all kinds of like amazing tape scene artists essentially to this little coffee shop in downtown.
Wow. And
then started putting out like he would book local artists to play that, and he would just put out their tapes. But I think the first Gardner thing was actually called Gardening, and it was a collaboration between me and my wife, who is a visual artist. And we had been collaborating and doing kind of like, we'd been involved in sort of the Buto scene in Asheville. She stage managed the Buto show, and I did sound for some stuff. And so we knew all these people, and through that, we got asked to do something for the Asheville Fringe Festival in 2011. And we didn't know really what to do. And so I just had this idea of like, I'd been doing this curtains thing with these vocal loops and stuff. And I thought it would be cool if I just created like a big vocal drone, no words, no anything, just sort of like create this kind of like long drone that kept building and building. And like wear it all white, stand on a white background. I painted my face white, and she just did these projections over top of me, that, like with an overhead projector, and would just kind of draw live or like drip water on it and make it melt.
Oh, that's sick.
It was cool. I don't know if we have any documentation of that, but it was really cool. And it was like, I don't remember why we chose the name Gardening. And then I did a couple shows just doing that thing on my own, but I was like, it can't be Gardening if Ray's not involved, so it'll be Gardener. And then, that was the start of that.
Nice.
That's sick.
Although,
sorry.
At least, I don't know, years earlier, at least in the 2000s, there's something that comes up on Discogs as a thing that you had done. You had provided liner notes to a hip hop compilation in 2004.
I don't even remember what you're talking about. What is this?
Okay, I can pull. This is another thing, is that as far as I know, Dash, there's very little interviewing work you've done. I know for this tape, you talked with Grayson, and that's provided on the Bandcamp page. But let me pull up your thingy here. I was really taken aback because I was trying to piece together. It's like, okay, I know he's done all of this stuff, It says it was for the Definition, the hip hop compilation on Neblina Records.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yep. And at the very bottom, it just says liner or sleeve notes, Dash Lewis. Sleeve notes, Crash.
Wow. I'm just kind of blown away. I don't remember that. I don't remember doing that. I remember that compilation. I remember those folks. And I remember making some music. There was a guy, Jerry, who like ran that label, and he sent me some beats, and we had some songs that a lot of that stuff is like unfortunately lost to time, hard drives that died or whatever. But
oh wow,
yeah.
But yeah, wow, holy shit. Yeah, that's a cool compilation. There's like some folks from it's a lot of North Carolina folks, and this guy Cahill, who is like we were good friends for a little while, and he was just I think he's just is a DJ now, but he was an unbelievable rapper and producer. He got an amazing song on that compilation called The Instigator.
Man, yeah, I'm seeing it. I see it.
Taking me back so far. Wow.
It's funny. There's still one copy for sale, but the guy who has it is in Spain. Don't know how it ends up.
That's
I never
crazy.
understand how that stuff gets there.
Wow. I wish I had a copy of that. That's amazing.
But also in the early 2010s, I guess because it comes off of the PR for this. So you did get a job at a synthesizer manufacturer, Make Noise.
I did, yeah. I started working there in oh man, what was that? That was 2011 or 2012. I can't remember exactly when, but it was like I had finally graduated college, or I started there before I graduated. So I graduated in 2012, and so I got they had just moved out of they moved the operations out of their house. It's this guy Tony Rolando and Kelly Kelbell, and they were living in a little house in Marshall, North Carolina, which is just like northwest of Asheville. And he had worked for Moog for a little while. But was like building circuits in his bedroom essentially, and then they got really popular, so he was just like doing that. And it got so popular that they needed to get a space. So they found this tiny little space in West Asheville, and my friend Matthew Sherwood, who ran a music store in Asheville at the time, he just hit me because I was working in a kitchen in some cafe and was ready to get out of that. And he was like, "Hey, well, like you do like all kinds of pedals and stuff, and like you mess with the soft synths on what's the word? Fruity Loops. This might be something to check out." And I did, and I got the job, and I didn't really know anything about synthesis. I was like their first employee. So I learned about synthesis, and I learned about modular synthesis specifically. By just like I was doing quality control in these modules in this tiny little space, and then like mowing the lawn for the space too. It was very like normal operation at the time.
Yeah.
They've since grown to be like an industry leader and are putting out incredible stuff all the time.
Oh, really? So they're still around?
Oh yeah. They're like doing amazing. They put out like everything that they do is just really interesting and very musical. I have a lot of brand loyalty, partly because they're my friends, but also because that stuff is just really easy to play. And when you're doing something, when you're trying to look at a box of synth modules and you don't know what to do, it helps if they're made with music in mind.
So was you getting a job at Make Noise kind of like your intro into like, I don't know, you started making music with modular synths at that point? Is that like when you started pretty much?
Yeah, absolutely. I would take home the demo system on weekends and just like patch it up. And I had this like, I would go to every time that Matthew, my friend who had the music store, would get something new and he would tell me about it. Like I got some samplers there. I got a 4-track there. And so I would come home and just like record everything I was doing into this 4-track. So I have tapes and tapes and tapes from that era of just like, weird little demos of me just like trying to learn how to play a modular synth. And a huge influence for me is Rob Lowe, who used to do a project called Lichens and now just does.
Oh, sick.
The Cranky Project.
That's wild.
Yes.
Yeah.
I follow the Cranky label, so the name, God, I forget which ones he did. They are good albums. They are very good.
Yeah. I remember I forget exactly how I came across this, but it was like a big turning point in my musical consumption was the band Deer Hunter.
Okay, so is Deer Hunter being channeled on this tape or some Atlas sound? Because there's some shit that sounds like Atlas sound on this outright.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. That shit is like very much in my bones. I was like pretty much, I'd say like 85% of what I was listening to up until 2007 was hip hop music.
Uh-huh.
And then I remember just reading a review of Cryptograms.
The Pitchfork 8.9.
Probably, yeah, I think so. I was like on my way to work or something, and I read this before I left the house.
Yeah.
And I couldn't stop thinking about it. And so I just went to the record store and bought the CD right before I went to work.
Dude, that's sick.
I just like, I left with enough time so that I was like circling the block just listening to this record, and I didn't understand what was going on because it opens with like an ambient song and then it goes into like a punk song.
Yeah.
And then it's insane. I mean, and then the whole record just like, it jumps around so much and it's so enthralling. And that was the time, this is like 2007. That was the time when Bradford Cox was doing his blog. And so like,
I didn't even know he had a blog. That's wild.
Oh, the Deer Hunter blog is so critical. I have a bunch. I have also Double Dream hanging out at another thing. Like Deer Hunter, for me, there's like a holy trinity of kind of like high school bands, and Deer Hunter is probably the definitive college band for me. I found that like just going into junior year and thought, this is the pinnacle. I still think those are like some of the most amazing albums. I fight to death online with people about them. I think everything they've done. I wrote for Indie Heads. I wrote about Spooky Action at a Distance for the 10th anniversary because that album, that was one of the first albums I got from Cranky. And that like really, I thought this is just great. This is great guitar pop, and was always fascinated by how Lockett didn't really care to follow it up. But like Cryptograms, that's probably my favorite albums of the 2000s. Outright at this point. It's the one I would return to very easily. And I think it's beautiful. I think it's really well sequenced. The blog, which has the lyrics and all the explanations for stuff, Bradford's deeply earnest. Just really puts their guts out there.
I saw Bradford Cox perform one time. They did an Atlas Sound and Deer Hunter set. And then I guess Bradford was pissed and then just started doing drones the entire set. And there's just all these people walking out. And like, I wasn't really into like, I guess like weird shit, you know what I mean? And so I was kind of just like, what is going on? This is the most wild show I've been to. Like, what is happening here? And like, he was taking like the plants that were like stage props and just handing them into the crowd. And then he like brought some girl up onto the stage or whatever and was like, press this key. And so we just had this person pressing this key for like 20 minutes, just pressing the one key. And
that sounds incredible.
Dude, thinking back, I wish I would have enjoyed it so much more. But like 5 or 6 years ago or whatever, I just didn't get it. And I know it was Bradford kind of throwing a fit, but still, like, I wish I was there. It would have been sick.
It clearly made an impression on you.
Yeah, it was, for sure. Yeah, it was definitely really interesting. But
I forget, that one got noticed. There's also the My Sharona incident.
Yes.
Sharona for goodness.
Or what, it was like 30 minutes or something?
Maybe even an hour.
Yeah. Just incredible. Yeah, that shit blew my mind because I didn't have any frame of reference for those sounds. And then it opened me up to all this kind of like, I discovered, or I started listening to doo-wop because of that band.
Oh, that's sick.
I got super, like I'd grown up listening to the Beach Boys, but I like had a new appreciation for them because of Cryptograms. I got into shoegaze music. It just like, if you map my music taste, that record is a huge movement. And then, you know, it also turned me on to Cranky Records, and I had to just figure out everything that was going on with Cranky.
Yeah.
There was, at the time, was like podcasts were still pretty new, and you had to use iTunes to get them. I think this is like, how old was I? It was like 20 in 2007. I was like 22 or something like that. I don't know, but didn't really understand what was going on, and I just searched Cranky on iTunes and found
they had a podcast.
Dude, did they really? It was like those
podcasts.
Dude, that's sick. Back when Apple Podcasts were just like, you know, they're only video based back in the day. I remember.
You could download Homestar Run or Strong Bad Emails. It was great. Podcasting ruled. I had the Strong Bad Emails on my video iPod. I loved that.
I think it was called the Brainwash podcast, and like mixes. Yeah.
And they're still going. I think Brainwashed is still going, and as a website,
that's sick. I need to check that out. But there was one particular one that I put on. Like, I got home from work, it was super late, and I just like, it had just finished downloading something, and I put it on, and the first thing is Cerulean Auras by Lichens, which starts with like him just looping up his voice into this otherworldly drone, and then suddenly he starts playing acoustic guitar over top of this drone. I was fucking transfixed. Again, it was one of those moments where I was like, I have no idea what I'm listening to. I can't, like, I stayed up. I probably listened to that song on repeat for like an hour. And this is like, you know, 2, 3 in the morning. And I had to figure out what was going on. And eventually I kind of was like, this is a voice. This is a human voice. And you can hear like the click of him tapping his foot on the like DL4 or whatever. He's just recording in the room. And so that was another moment where I was just like, this is an obsession for me. So when I followed him, and he started getting, he's also like really good friends with Tony Rolando from Make Noise, because they played in bands and played in the same scene together in Chicago in the 90s. And when I was interviewing for that job, actually, I told Kelly was asking me what my biggest musical influences were, or what I was listening to at the time. And I said Lichens. She was like, "Oh, I know that guy. I know Rob. He's a good friend." I was like, "What?" And and turns out that like he was helping them beta test modules, and like he runs that shop Control in New York.
Dude, that's sick.
And so he got into synthesizers, and then he got into modular synths, and then started weaving voice into the modular thing. And a lot of early stuff that I was doing was just trying to make Lichens records with my voice and the modular. And eventually, you know, like that's the artist path. You imitate until you figure out your own way, your own language. But I forget where we started. Sorry.
I think we started back when I asked you about like how you got into like synthesis or whatever. And then, I led you into that.
This is good though. This is why we do it as it does.
Yeah, no, that's sick.
I'm super psyched to be talking about it. I don't get asked these kind of questions that often, so it's nice. But yeah, so I just wanted to make something like that because, like, to me, that was the most psychedelic music I had ever heard. It was really, I mean, it wasn't this sort of like urgent, sort of like 80s Steve Roach thing, which I really love and appreciate, or like Berlin School stuff or whatever. But it was just this really human, organic sounding stuff that just seemed like it was familiar and yet so far away. And he was using the tools that I had at the time to make that stuff. And I was like, well, I can do this too. I just got to figure out how he's doing it. And then I can, like, this is my path right now. And I just like, I would bring the demo case home on weekends. And then sometimes we'd have like a new module that Tony was prototyping or something. And so I would bring that home too and just try to like see how it worked and record just hours of myself doing that on these 4-track. And that's how the project sort of became Gardner, or the solo version of Gardner, I guess.
And so you're still kind of using the same process today?
Yeah, pretty much. It's still, things usually get started on the modular. I have more synths now. And my writing process changed with 2020 really, but it like the things that I always incorporate with every song or composition or whatever is some sort of vocal element and some sort of modular element. And I try to blur the lines between them as much as possible.
So, because at least, so the songs for Calm Down were written over a period of 2 years, 2017 to 19. And I Am Here for a Moment was written post-pandemic. So between these two, what would, at least to you, strike you as like the biggest difference in terms of writing process there?
So for Calm Down, that was all those songs were things that I would write and then take on the road and just sort of like work out on the road for a week or 2 weeks or whatever. And when I got home, I had this idea of just only recording the synth parts and then maybe like adding overdubs and sort of like fleshing them. Like when I would perform live, some of those songs would be like 30 minutes long instead of 7 or whatever. And
wow.
Yeah. So I would try to like find all the elements that I wanted. And, I'll say, okay, well, so I just got home. I know this patch, like extremely well. I'll record the tour set and then I'll try to do a pass of it where it's just the modular and I'm trying to hit every element in X amount of time. And then I would go back. And so I collected those for a long time. I would like write some, I did some other stuff in between that. But I would, those particular things would just like sit on these tapes. And then when it came time to like really finish that, I wanted to record all the vocals at the same time. So I think I did all the vocals for that record in the same week. And then I also got a Moog Sub 37 and wrote the sort of kind of Boards of Canada line that's on Kudzu Claimed It and recorded that. And then I finished all that within like the same week and a half. So I was working at a restaurant at the time and I would sometimes have like 3 or 4 days off at a time.
Yeah.
And then my friend Jeremy, who was living in town, had just a whole mess of like percussion stuff. And I wanted to add like shakers and tambourines and all that kind of stuff. And so I borrowed a bag of percussion from him. I didn't know what was in it. And I was like, all right, I have a week to add this to whatever needs it. And I recorded all like, I think there's only a few songs that have percussion on them. And some of it is like me playing a kick drum on my sampler or something like that. But I just so I recorded all these synth parts over the course of a couple years after coming home from the road, and then wanted to finish it by just adding these layers, but do it really quickly in this way to like flesh out these songs. And I took a lot of that process and sort of refined it when I did I'm Here for a Moment, because I got laid off from the restaurant and I had ideas and time and synthesizers and nothing else to do. And so I would just come into the studio every day and treat it like a job while I was filing unemployment and just like write and record all day. And because I wasn't going on the road, I didn't have the luxury of like working out the kinks night after night after night. So it would just be like this very disciplined thing of working on it for hours at a time.
Wow.
And then finding out like how, like creating a patch and finding out exactly what I could do with it. And then trying to arrange that into some sort of thing. And then again, just like only record the synth parts, go back and did all the vocals at the same time. The only one that's different is Bright as the Southern Sun, which is the last song on I'm Here for a Moment, which is, that is the last capture of a set that I played. So that was like that was the set that I toured in 2019 for most of fall of 2019. And again, it was like, I play it for like 30 minutes and I condensed it to like 10 or maybe less than that. And turned it into what it is now. So it was more of a piecemeal thing. And that's sort of where I'm, building things up from like by element instead of trying to trim down this like, quote unquote finished piece.
That's sick.
And I think, I don't know, one thing that fascinates me about the process is there doesn't appear like there really was like a big limitation. you actually had like plenty of time. You were filing unemployment in between making this. So in regards to the gear you have though, or any kind of, I don't know, running out of data on anything, like there were really no limitations to what you were doing. Or did you think there was something?
I mean, not necessarily. One thing that I had in mind for I'm Here for a Moment was to go direct on everything. Like some of the sounds that I did for some of the sounds I got for Calm Down, like have, you know, a couple of like kind of terrible amps that I would set up in my hallway or in the bathroom or something, and I would record vocals and capture sort of the room sound. Like if you listen closely, you can hear my old dog on a number of the songs on Calm Down and some of the older stuff. Like she'll just bark and it'll get looped up. And I wanted to go direct just because I felt like, I don't know how much I ascribed, or how much meaning I really had for it at the time. It just felt important. And I think looking back on it, it just felt like the moment was so out of time and like we were all so isolated. I wanted to create something that didn't have any semblance of my home or like, you know, like it didn't sound like my space. It sounded like it existed in a vacuum because I felt like we were all kind of existing in a vacuum at the time.
Yeah.
But I think the nice thing about, like, I don't know if that answers the question, but in terms of limits in the instruments, that's the nice thing about synthesis, and especially modular synthesis and using your voice, is like there are methods that you can create, but like one patch can go on infinitely. Like you can, and you know, one thing that I like to do to keep myself fresh is just rearrange where the modules go in the case, so that I don't fall into the same methods of patching every single time I sit down to it. And I'll like rearrange the studio space every now and again to do the same thing. But I don't really think that, I mean, the only limits that there are in terms of that, really in terms of making anything, I suppose, are the limits that you impose upon yourself. But I don't know, did that answer your question?
That did. And I think that's actually a really beautiful answer. No, like, I was fascinated though, because these tapes, I was wondering, it's like, were there any real limitations? Was there a kind of a modus operandi or something to it? And you very just nicely answered all of that.
I suppose another big difference, both in method and limits, is that almost all of Calm Down was recorded on a 4-track. So like I would record. So yeah, that was like, once I had that take, I couldn't edit it, you know? So those tapes was like, this is the take, you know, I would do multiple takes, but some of them sound so degraded because I would run the tape back, and they're these old tapes I get from the thrift store or whatever. And like, once I got a take that I felt was good of the synth, like that was it. And everything else was recorded on top of that, or like to a different tape that I would bounce, you know, into the DAW. But everything that on I Am Here for a Moment was recorded into Ableton, and there's a lot of editing and overdubbing and a lot of deletion, a lot of songs that didn't make it, you know, that kind of thing. So it was, yeah, I mean, you know, it's a different method of, I don't know, composition, I suppose, or like a different method of composition, because there's only so much you can edit on the tape, and there's kind of, again, endless possibilities with something like Ableton.
Yeah. I don't know, also in regards to Yes, I Am Here for a Moment, is, I don't know, the drums or some of the percussives, more of the hip hop kind of stuff. I think you had talked about it earlier. It does come through on this tape. The just like quality of, there is a beat here. There is a loop. There's something that if somebody started just rhyming over or just freestyling, yes, this could happen theoretically. Really, really fascinating to go, because it's really great minimal music.
Yeah, I've been really interested in doing a more sort of emphasis on rhythm in Gardner stuff. And that is like a lot of what I'm going to be exploring in, you know, this upcoming week. But in 2016, I went on a tour where my brother played in Gardner as well. And we were out for like 2 weeks, and he played percussion and guitar on a lot of these. Well, I can't remember I don't know if any of the songs ended up on Calm Down or not. But we had this whole set and it was like about 3 or 4 different movements. And for the most part, he played percussion and he played guitar on some of the stuff. And he'd seen me play a number of times, but it was always just kind of like, yeah, like it's just a cloud of drone and it's beautiful, but like I don't have a lot to hang on to. And I was like, well, rhythm, I could add some rhythm into it and give people something to like latch onto while everything else swirls around. And it made a lot of sense. Like on a couple of the songs that we toured, he would play conga. He was a music major, and so has like this incredible sense of rhythm. And I had this like very kind of bouncy sequence going, and he brought out these like, he was able to find these weird little pockets in the rhythms that I didn't know existed. And it took it to this different level for me, and I understood. I started thinking about rhythm as drone instead of just like long decaying sound as drone, and trying to like if you listen to like, I don't know, like Moroccan Gnawa music or something, where there's like all these different polyrhythms happening at the same time, you can latch onto one and follow that the whole way, or you can let it all just kind of wash over you, and it becomes like, either way, you get transported elsewhere. It's very trance-inducing music, and that was something that I've been very interested in trying to get to. And then, I made beats for like so long that it makes sense that I would want to maybe return to that.
Probably out of the little trio tapes I got from you, the one that really does strike me, and I brought it up earlier, I really love Eraserhood. I missed the Atlantic Rhythms run. I hope at some point they put this out on 245s, in all honesty, because all 4 of the tracks are really, really, they're really great long forms. I thought I was really taken aback at how it's like, this is chill out music, but also it's not kind of the status. Like, were there more stuff from the session you had done with Jeff? What had brought you to Jeff to begin with in doing that? We had talked with Powers Rollins, and they had brought up Jeff Ziegler as well, and his kind of architecture of the Philadelphia sound. And I have that War on Drugs album, Slave Ambient, as well. And I'm like, oh, he's in liner notes. So yeah.
He produced or co-produced that record and did the same with Lost in the Dream. That's how I met him. Is I was playing in a band. I was living in Chicago at the time, and friends here in Richmond hired me to play in their band because they had been asked to open for the War on Drugs in 2014 for their like national tour.
That's wild.
They didn't have someone playing electronics, and so they asked me to. I had a little modular case at the time, and Landis, the frontman of the band, who now has a band called Open, and we share a practice space here.
Sick.
He very, very excellent dude. He had a little like MIDI, like a shitty old MIDI controller, like one of the Oxygen 8s or something like that. And every keyboard sound, every synth sound that he used on the record was saved in Ableton, and I could page through it, and I would just like play all the keyboard lines from the record. Anyway, White Laces it was the name of the band, and they had gone to Philly to record with Jeff. Jeff produced their record because Landis was a huge fan of Slave Ambient, and it was like, I don't know, this dude is doing the things that I like, so I want to get in contact with him and see what it would cost for him to just do this record for us. And I guess it was doable, and so they did the whole record with Jeff, and I met him. Can't remember if our first show was in Philly. No, our first show was in like upstate New York, but we spent like a week in Philly, and I met Jeff then. And then he came to like our New York show, and then we just stayed in touch, and I did a Curtains tour later that year and played with him and Mary Lattimore.
Oh,
sick.
That's Sarah Big Ears. Very good.
Yeah, and that was the first time I met Mary. That was when they were before she had moved to LA, that she and Jeff were I think starting their second or third record at the time. And then I forget exactly. I think it might have been 2016, because I would just, every time I would go to Philly, I would just stay with him. I would play and stay with him. Sometimes we play shows together. We became friends. And then in 2016, I was touring with Benoit Poulard, and we played at the First Unitarian Church or something in Philly. Oh, nice. And Jeff came up, and he and I went out for a drink afterwards, and he was like, "Hey man, sometime you should just come up here. We should just jam some music." I was like, "Okay, bet." And so like I think it was like a couple months later, I went up there and we just like jammed for a while, and that became some of the songs. There's probably like hours of stuff that is somewhere in his various hard drives. But it was a really organic thing. We just like, we've been friends for 8 years and we've been doing the project for 6. And it was just like, I don't know, we met doing music and decided we should do it together. And it works really well. We have a really good musical vocabulary. He's become like one of my best friends.
That's sick.
Yeah.
And all of those pieces, were they recorded during COVID 2020 lockdown? Or
no. The earliest one was what became Rumored Jazz. That came from the first session we did in 2016.
Wow. Okay.
So we recorded all of that. We recorded and mixed it from 2016 to 2018. And then we shopped it around for a long time. We got it mastered in 2019. And then Atlantic Rhythms they showed the most interest and really liked it. And so, so they put it out in 2020. So it's like all that stuff is like pretty old at this point.
And how difficult has it been, I guess, just in terms like to shop around your music? I don't know. You've been working in kind of some esoteric stuff, but Trouble in Mind has become a bit of an outlet for putting out this stuff. I didn't realize that the material on this Atlantic Rhythms release was that old. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with that stuff, I think it's a little tougher because it's long form and like that record doesn't fit on an LP. It's like an hour long. So
it would need a double. That's why I'm like, this needs 245s. It's really designed for a different kind of listening.
That's the kind of thing that he and I like to do. It's what I used to do a lot with Gardner and what I've shied away from now, or not shied away from, but I'm less interested in that with my project, but I love doing that with Jeff, because we'll just let things like expand, and then you think it's done expanding, and then expand it some more. It is very hard to shop this stuff around. A lot of like, I guess what I make gets classified as ambient music a lot, and I think it's a little bit more active than that. I don't mind that label, but I wouldn't say that I make things that are that's background music per se.
Yeah.
So it's hard to send a record to somebody and be like, I made this with a modular synthesizer and my voice, and it's songs, and it like has very specific meanings, and not get sort of like, I don't know, ignored essentially. With the stuff for Jeff, it was just really hard for people to know exactly what to do with it. Some people, I think, wanted it to be shorter, or wanted the songs to be shorter. And Sean at Atlantic Rhythms was just like, no, this is what it is. We had to cut Rumored Jazz down to fit the tape, but you get all 20 minutes of it on Bandcamp.
That's the thing that shocks me, is that I don't know how someone though would hear a song like Popcorn Ceiling and not immediately be really interested to get that out. Because when I was hearing that, I was hearing like, this is mid 80s 4AD, and y'all just got it was like, it's like, oh my God, they made like Lost Victoria Land chill out club cut. And I really did love it.
I'm so glad. I mean, I love that record. I love the process of making that. It's a very, like, he and I work very naturally. When we were working a few weeks ago, I texted him a few days after I got back to Richmond, just like, hey, I really like that was, I think we got some really good stuff done. He was like, yeah, just like, I don't remember any of it. It was just like a blur. It's like, yeah, because it wasn't like, we just have a very natural musical chemistry, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's the Trouble in Mind thing was kind of a shock to me. I sent this, when it was done, I sent this record to a number of people being like, what do I do with this? I feel like this is, I think it's really good. And I don't want to be just like relegated to the tape scene. I have a lot of tapes. I love the tape scene. I love tape labels. But but it's just like, I've been doing this for a really long time. I would like to get it out there a little bit more. I sent it to my friend Fred, and he had some ideas. He like did an intro email to the folks at Cranky, who just didn't respond, which is fine. And then I sent it, and he was just like, yeah, I mean, like, I'll put it out on my label, but like, I want to help you find somewhere else. Let's consider this a last resort. And I sent it to my pal Erin, Erin Daly. She has a blog. She writes for Bandcamp. Really great writer. Really great person. Great music taste. And she was a big fan of Eraserhood. So I was like, hey, this is this thing I just finished.
Is it EMD?
Yeah, EMD.
I love her stuff.
Yeah, she's
probably my favorite of all the stuff. I really hope she gets to do that book for Music Out in Michigan, or goodness. Like,
I hope she gets to do whatever she wants to do. She's fantastic. I think she's wonderful. And she is the reason why Trouble in Mind was interested. I sent it to her, and she sent it to Trouble in Mind. I got an email out of the blue from Bill at Trouble in Mind that was like, hey, our pal Aaron sent us this. We really like it. Would you want to put it out on the Explorer series? And I was like, absolutely. Let's do it.
That's so sick.
Yeah. So that saved me. I mean, I didn't know what I was going to do with it other than that. And so it was really nice to have a nice home, have it professionally made. I didn't pay for it. I paid to record it. I paid to master it and everything. But like, it was really nice to get someone. Like, I love that label too. And I love a lot of the stuff they do. My friends Smoke Bellow are on that label. They're like, so it feels really, I feel very lucky to be a part of that. And I'm going to send them the next thing as soon as it's done, and hopefully they'll be into that too.
The Explorer series has been phenomenal. I've gotten to kind of sample half of it, I suppose, in different capacities, and I've been so thankful that Trouble in Mind has been doing that, because I don't know. It's like, Cranky hasn't put out a ton of new horror stuff. We talked with another artist who has sent stuff to Cranky and has been joined many times.
Yeah.
So we know. We're glad that this music is getting homes in it. I don't know. It gets to people like us who do want to hear it, even if it's on cassette. I'm pro for that. I'm good. Just not vinyl, but I'll still take a vinyl.
I don't know how realistic it is for me to have an LP to my name at this point, just based on like what's going on with the industry and like delays and all that kind of stuff. For me, it's a personal goal. Like, I would love to have my own music in that format. I have so many records. I love records, but the main thing is just for people to hear it and connect with it. And like, that's what I really want the most. It's just for the music to reach an ear that is appreciative.
That's sick. I don't know, Maddie, do we have any more questions before we hop into some listener questions, or anything else we want to add on?
I guess we'll go into one more serious topic, and we don't need to make this one too long. It's just, again, in addition, it's kind of been tiptoed around. You have done a lot of pitching work or you've done a ton of interviews that are on Passion of the Weiss, they're on Post Trash. You've published tape reviews on Resident Advisor. Just, again, how is the hustle for that, in addition to doing content writing, as you called it, for your kind of 9 to 5?
Your job, yeah.
It is tiring, but it is, writing has always been something that I've been really passionate about and like very interested in doing. Took a long time for me to get there, but I got a degree in literature from UNC Asheville. Like, I love the written word, as cheap as that sounds. And I love music, and I've always wanted to write about music. And I listen to, it's really rare that there isn't music on at any point in my day. I don't know. It had always been kind of a goal of mine that I thought I was never going to be able to do for, X, Y, Z. And I pitched something to Jeff Weiss in 2021 that was like I really wanted to write about this rapper Boldy James, who put out 4 records in 2020, and they're all really good and they're all really different. And it struck me, and I got obsessed with this dude's work. and I just pitched like sort of a critical rundown of these records to Jeff, and he accepted it and he published it in April of 2021. And then he was like, pitch whenever you want. This was great. And so I just started pitching him reviews. And then in June of 2021, he asked me to interview Prem Rock. That was the first interview that I did. And I really love it. I love writing about music. I love talking to musicians. I feel like hopefully I have a good perspective on it because I've made so much different kind of music in my life and I listen to so much different music. I mean, I probably work myself a little too hard in terms of like doing all the freelance stuff in addition to my 9 to 5, in addition to music, in addition to everything else I do. But it brings me a lot of joy, and I've gotten to talk to a lot of incredible people, and I've gotten to listen to a lot of incredible records. And yeah, I mean, it's a hustle, and it doesn't pay very well, but that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, I don't know, the little bits of writing I do or so, it's not about that. It's about stuff like this.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, you make connections. I've made like actual legit friendships have come out of my writing. I've expanded my social circle. I've expanded the things that I listen to. My world has expanded greatly in the past year and a half that I've been doing this. And, I don't want to give that up. So I'm going to keep doing it.
Oh, yeah.
Sick. Well, I think that kind of just about does it for the questions we have, but we do have some listener questions here.
Right on.
Did you want to take them?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So the first one, it says, what's on the turntable right now?
The last thing that was on the turntable was A Seat at the Table by Solange.
Nice. Hell yeah.
You're prepping for Renaissance right now? Or
I still haven't listened to that yet, but I'm going to on my drive, I think. Wednesday.
Wait, what is Renaissance?
The new Beyonce record.
Oh, hell yeah. I didn't even know that came out. That's sick. Okay, so this next one says, can you walk us through your daily routine? What's a normal 2022 Lewis day look like?
I don't really have that's a big problem for me right now is I don't have a great routine. But I usually wake up around like 6:30 or so, and do some sort of exercise or read, depending on like how I'm feeling. Like some mornings I'll go for a long bike ride in the morning. I work from home, so I don't get to do that much. I have no reason to do that much. So I have to make a reason. But there's a little greenway really close to my house. So I'll go on a bike ride, or I'll like read a book for a little while. And then if I have something that I'm working on, like a freelance piece that I'm working on, I'll work on that until about 9, and then kind of log into work email, see if there's anything going on with that. And then just do that until I take a lunch break. It's not super exciting. I'll, on my lunch break, I might read, or I might like go for a walk, or I might do nothing. And then cook some dinner and hang out with my wife and watch a movie, go to sleep, something like that. Do something like this. Sometimes I have an interview lined up. Hopefully there'll be some more of a music thing worked into that. After this week, but that's sort of what it looks like right now.
That's sick, dude. We love to hear the day by day here. Okay, so this next one says, how many hours do you spend on TikTok a week?
Too many. Probably maybe like 10.
Dude, hell yeah, that's tight. So that's a little over an hour a day. We love it.
Yeah, it's probably about broken up over the day. It's at least an hour, I'd say.
Yeah.
I'm glad I never got the app. I'll still get sent stuff occasionally. I'm like, damn, this is really good.
Dude, it ropes you in. The algorithm knows you. It's really weird.
Yeah. And like, I have a few friends that I text every day who don't live in town. And a lot of what we'll do is just send each other stupid videos or memes or whatever. And it's just like TikToks all the time.
Dude, TikTok is like a good way to stay in touch with people. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like a very
better than Snap.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I don't know. I don't even really use TikTok to its full capacity. Like I know you can like message and stuff on there. I also just found out that they have this weird LinkedIn feature on TikTok where it's like you can see if people were viewing your profile, or you can see who viewed your profile, or like, and I was like, oh, that's weird. Definitely not turning that on because that's creepy. But I do mostly just text my friends TikToks or whatever. I don't know. That's like the capacity that I use it at. What's the algorithm throwing at you? Like what do you mostly get on yours?
A lot of cooking videos.
Oh, nice.
Do you get the Aki way?
I've had those sent to me, but I don't. That shit is like a little too much for me.
Wait, what is that?
It's this bodega in I forget what borough it's in, but it's in New York, and it's this dude like who makes sort of typical bodega sandwiches, but will do them in this insane way. Like someone will order like a chopped cheese on honey buns or something like that, and they always ask for the Aki.
Right.
Sure. And then like he's got these little catchphrases. It's all the most like insane, horrifying food that somehow also looks kind of delicious, but it's just it's messed up, man.
It's like a next level Guy Fieri kind of place, but the enthusiasm sells it.
Yeah.
They have sold so many beverages because of that. Don't forget the Bev line. Like that right there. And then now when I talk with my friends, we do like a really over exaggerated sure because we love like I wrote about like Paddington 2 in college for our thing, and I'm like, this is nice core. I'm like, this is like another like emphasis of nice core happening on TikTok is a guy making these sandwiches and being so enthusiastic.
Nice core, dude. That's sick. I actually, you know what? Now that you bring up Aki Way, I definitely have like come across a TikTok that was like making fun of the Aki Way, but I didn't know what it was. You know what I mean? So like
fun of it.
Yeah, like there was some guy that like, was like, oh, can I get like this sandwich or whatever? And the guy's just staring at him like, you gonna get the Aki Way? And he's like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? Yeah. And and I didn't know what that was, but I was like, okay. So that's really funny that I just found out by asking Dash Lewis this question.
I'm happy to have brought it to you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I always like asking people what their algorithm throws at them. Like my girlfriend gets like a ton of cat videos. Yeah. And then I guess mine sends me a lot of like car ones for some reason, even though I'm not that into cars, but I definitely get a lot of car ones. And maybe it just assumes like male into, and like I viewed one or something, and now it sends me a lot of them for some reason. And I also get a lot of like I don't know how you would put it, like girlfriend perspective videos or something for some reason. Don't know why I get them all, but it's like me texting my boyfriend, something like that. And I'm just like, why do I get these all the time? But you know what I mean?
Had for a while, I was like starting what I thought was going to be some sort of weird art project that I never finished because my phone ran out of memory, and so TikTok just restarted and I lost all this kind of stuff. But I was getting all these lives of people playing music alone in like their bathroom or their kitchen, sometimes to backing tracks. And it would be like every other video would be this live of this person, like somebody playing a cello in this really melodramatic way with like stars in the background. So I just screenshot all of these, and I had this massive collection of these screenshots of all these lives of people playing music alone. I don't know what I was going to do with it, but it's that whole shit is so fascinating.
Yeah, dude, for sure. Oh, dude, it's actually really funny. I want to ask you right now. So I get recently all the lives that have been suggested to me are ASMR, and I absolutely hate ASMR. I was just telling Maddie that like, literally right before this, I was telling Maddie that I hate ASMR. Like, dude, it's so weird. Like today while I was working, I was like, okay, fine, I'll click on this live. So I clicked on the live and I'm just listening to this person go off, like doing ASMR, like,
No,
like the mouth noises and stuff. And I'm just sitting there just like, why is this a thing? This is so annoying. But like I left it on for like 10 minutes or something, just like playing as I'm like working. You know what I mean? But anyways, what are your thoughts on ASMR?
I understand it in theory. It's not something that I engage with or like appreciate for myself. I find it kind of annoying. I don't really want to listen to people's mouth noises.
Yeah, it's so weird.
I think it's very strange that it's like infiltrated other kinds of videos. Like cooking videos always has to have someone.
For sure. Yeah.
I'm now seeing ASMR ads on TV, and I'm like, shit. We mainstreamed it. God damn it.
Yeah, it's really weird. I think it's just like, you can monetize it, so it makes sense that it is blown up. I think it's also like probably, there might be some scholarship on this in the near future, but I think it's a way to try and feel connected in this very dissociated, fragmented, isolating dystopia that we live in.
Yeah.
Where TikTok is certainly a part of that.
For sure.
I mean, I remember there was one day when I woke up. It was like many months ago, maybe in the early spring. I woke up and I wasn't sick, but I was just exhausted. I didn't really want to get up and do anything. And I just rolled over and I picked up my phone. I opened TikTok and there was a live, and it was like a pre-recorded video, but it was somebody walking down the street in London when it was raining. And I just left it on for a while. I like fell asleep to it.
Wow.
Came back, same looped up video. It was incredibly soothing. And so in that, like, I understand that aspect of it. It's it kind of reminds me of like, there's a couple people that I follow that I feel a certain like affection for because they seem extremely lonely. And then at some points I'm like, oh, they might just be like essentially weaponizing this idea of loneliness in order to gain followers, to like do this thing where they hold out the drink or the Oreo cookie or whatever to the front facing camera. And they're like, hey, we're friends. We're sharing this together. And it's just a video of them doing that. And so like, I don't know. I find TikTok fascinating, and I also think it's like kind of warping everyone's sense of reality.
I do almost kind of feel like that too. Like, yeah, it's just like very weird because like, that there's definitely people that find their like niche somehow and they get really popular for doing like one thing, kind of like you were saying, like, oh, here, I'll share this with you. Like, you're my friend, they find that like they're getting that like gratification of like, oh, I'm getting a ton of views, like a ton of likes, all this stuff. I'm gonna keep doing it. You know what I mean? I'm gonna just like weaponize it like you were saying. And I feel like that's like what TikTok is. It's just becoming this massive snowball of like, knowing what's popular and it's gonna get people's attention. It's just gonna, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I find it kind of troubling that the people who make little videos, some people are really talented and really, really good at it and are making very interesting stuff, but anyone who makes videos and has made enough of them to have a little bit of a following is using the word creator.
I know. Yeah.
I don't like some of the people that are uploading stuff are just lip syncing and then or washing their hair or I don't know. It's like, it feels very odd to me to be saying that everything that we do is this sort of like creative outlet when it's just documentation. It doesn't mean that it's creative. It's just like, you don't know what else to do. And so I don't know, maybe this is me, like, maybe I'm showing my age here or something like that, but like, it's really strange to me. I don't know if it's bad or good, but it's just very weird.
I think that's viable. It's like at the start of the pandemic, I never got on TikTok, but I had been familiar with the ASMR and all the stuff. And it was like getting a tweet, I think, through Tabs Out to get the first pressing of Claire Rosé's last tape she did for Already Dead Records, a Heavenly Touch, and picking up all of the ASMR stuff on that, but actually seeing like there's viable art, there's connection. All these little like themes we've talked about or been mentioned in the past 5 minutes come through on that like musical expose compared to somebody potentially, just making or documenting videos, but potentially bolstering it or advertising it in a way that it's not.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely can have like, I don't know, an artistic way to do that type of stuff. But yeah, a lot of people are, I feel like, just calling themselves creators by, I don't know, it's like that 15 seconds of like fame type deal that I think TikTok gives a lot of people. Like that's how the algorithm is. Like someone will blow up and like, you know, get like 1 million views on one video, and they'll continue to make it because they have a ton of followers from that like one video, you know, and it's like, oh, all of a sudden I'm a content creator. You know what I'm saying? Type deal.
It's a weird word. It's not artist. It's not musician. It's not writer.
Mm-hmm.
It's not chef. It's creator. And it's, I don't know, it's this weird nebulous thing that is, it's fascinating. It's really, really fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this last one here, it says favorite TV show or movie, and is this a influential medium for you?
Favorite TV show. I don't know what my favorite TV show is. I would probably maybe Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And you know, it's probably predictable, but Twin Peaks.
Nice, yeah.
And favorite movie. These things change a lot, but I think some of my favorite movies are like Alien, The Shining, Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
Halloween is probably Halloween. I think is my favorite movie.
Big thriller fan here, not horror, thriller.
I mean, I love, big horror fan, big thriller fan, big media that examines the discomfort that we all feel all the time.
Have you seen that new movie Nope? The Jordan Peele one?
I've not seen it yet.
Okay, neither have I.
You just saw that today, didn't you, Thomas?
I actually didn't. Yesterday, me and my girlfriend went to go watch a movie, like I was saying in the beginning. And I don't really like horror. And so there was like 2 movies that were showing at the time we wanted to go. And it was either that one, but we decided to see DC Super Pets. So we went and saw the kids movie DC Super Pets yesterday at 9 p.m. And we were the only ones in the movie theater.
Nope is not scary.
It looked scary, dude. So I didn't want to watch it.
It's classic. I talked with another friend about this who has apparently not seen Jordan Peele movies. And I'm like, yeah, okay, it's horror, but it's more like this is just an examination of being black in America in this current day and age. And I really liked Nope. I walked away and was thrilled.
I didn't know.
I won't say anything else besides there's one place they go to in the movie that I pass consistently on the Pacific Surfliner Amtrak going up to KCSB.
Oh, that's kind of sick.
I'm thrilled that it plays a role in the movie. That's all I'm saying.
Dude, that's sick. Is it someplace that I would pass?
You would probably know about this. You and Jess would probably know about this place. And you'll laugh when you're like, Maddie said they were excited this was in the movie.
Dude, that's pretty dope. I'm going to have to watch it now, actually.
I will say I did get from this place Midnight Special on DVD for $3. And that is probably my favorite like superhero movie of the 2010s.
Dude,
I think that's
sick.
A beautiful, beautiful movie. Very sincere.
Okay, well, that brings us to the end of our listener questions here, Dash. Where can people keep up with all things Dash, Lewis, Gardner, etc.?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Dash, or wait, no, I just changed it. It's at Gardner Jams on both Twitter and Instagram. Don't look for me on TikTok. I don't make anything. I just like videos. But yeah, that's you. So there's link trees in the bios of on both Twitter and Instagram. You can find links to everything I've written. You can find links to all my music, or at least everything that I've put out lately. Yeah, that's it.
Hell yeah, tight. Okay, so we have one last question here. It's kind of the biggest one of the show, Dash. Are you ready for it?
Yeah, bring it on.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. A rat is going to jump into your mouth. Do you want this rat to jump into your mouth head first or butt first, and why?
I mean, I guess head first so that I can grab it by the tail and yank it out.
That's a good one. I've never heard that one before. Utilize the tail. Damn.
No one wants you to like.
Nobody has ever said that out of all the like 3 years we've been asking this question.
That's wild.
That's sick.
I mean, it's scary because like they can bite your tongue or whatever, but like, yeah, just throw that motherfucker.
Yeah, dude, that's dope. Hell yeah, that's sick. Yeah, most people go for like biting its head off. Yeah, etc. I don't know. They a lot of people go butt first because they're just like, it's naturally gonna want to move forward, so it's just gonna crawl out. I love the yank in the tail. Like that one's good.
Yeah, get it out of here.
Yeah, that's sick. All right. Well, I think that's all we have for today's show. Thanks for tuning into TBD on KCSB FM 91.9 every Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. and netnetradio.com every Saturday, 4 p.m. This has been Dash Lewis. Thanks again for being on the show, Dash. This was super fun.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.